Unsolved, it is a word that will inspire different reactions in different people. Some, who love a new mystery to dig into, might grow obsessed with each detail that does exist. Some, who prefer closure and riddles with solutions, will feel an itch in their brain every time they think of a scenario with no satisfactory conclusion. Whatever the reaction, unsolved mysteries are an obsession for many of us. So here are 10 disturbing disappearances that are still unsolved. 10. The possible murder of the Schulze family. The Schulze family from Drage in Lower Saxony went missing in 2015. Husband Marco, his wife Sylvia, and their daughter Miriam went missing from their home in Drage on July 22, 2015. Marco's body was found a week later in the Elbe River, and he had a concrete block attached to his legs with rope. Sylvia and Miriam, though, remain missing to this day. Their house was emptied of all their personal belongings, and the money put in a secure bank account until they find out who will inherit it. Many people believe that either the father killed his wife, daughter, then himself, while others believe that the mother and daughter are still alive. 9. Amy Bradley. While on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship in the Netherlands, Amy Bradley mysteriously vanished from the ship. Her parents and brother last saw her on their suite's balcony in the early morning of March 24, 1998, and witnesses said they saw her with a member of the ship's band shortly thereafter. The ship docked in Curaçao after her parents reported her missing, but it did not get locked down while the search got underway. 7 years later, her parents received a photo of a woman who looked like Bradley from an adult escort website, prompting speculation that she got smuggled off the ship and sold into sexual slavery. Numerous sightings have been reported, including an American sailor who visited a brothel and came upon a woman who claimed to be Amy. She reportedly then asked for help before getting whisked away. Despite an extensive investigation, her fate never became clear. 8. The Johnny Gosch tragedy. In 1982, a 12-year-old boy disappeared in West Des Moines. His name was Johnny Gosch. What transpired that day was the beginning of a worldwide eye-opener to the atrocities of pedophilia and child trafficking in America. Johnny was kidnapped while he began his morning paper route for the Des Moines Register in West Des Moines on September 5, 1982. He was followed until he was out of sight of the others, then snatched by two men who held him down in the back seat of an old Fairmont. About 6 months after Johnny's kidnapping, a woman was approached by a young boy in the parking lot of a convenience store in Oklahoma screaming, "I'm Johnny Gosch, I've been kidnapped." He was immediately accosted by two men who grabbed him and were never seen again. 15 years later, Johnny came to visit his mother for a few hours and asked her for help. There were two men with him and he could not stay. Johnny stayed with Noreen for only a few hours, then left before daylight, disappearing into the night to leave his mother with nothing but the secret memory of his visitation. 7. Rachel Trlica, Lisa Wilson, and Julie Moseley. 17-year-old Rachel Trlica went to do some Christmas shopping on the morning of December 23, 1974, with her friend, 14-year-old Lisa Renee Wilson, and Wilson's 9-year-old neighbor Julie Moseley, at the New Seminary South Shopping Center in Fort Worth, Texas. According to an article on a website maintained by Rachel's brother, the girls were supposed to be home by 4 p.m., but they were never seen again. Rachel's car was found parked outside Sears, and witnesses placed the three girls inside the shopping center during the day. Locked inside the car were all the gifts the girls had bought, which makes it seem unlikely they just ran away. Why would you pay for your layaway before starting a new life? The last sign of life from the girls came in the form of a letter sent to Rachel's husband. "I know I'm going to catch it, but we just had to get away. We're going to Houston. See you in about a week. The car is in Sears upper lot. Love, Rachel." Besides the other errors in the letter, it looked as if Rachel had misspelled her own name on the first pass, and one of the numbers in the postmark was backward. Over 48 years later, the families have not given up hope, and they release pigeons in their honor each year. 6. Brandon Swanson. Brandon Swanson is a 19-year-old college student from Minnesota who disappeared in May 2008. He was on his way home from a night out with friends and ran his car into a ditch. He called his parents and asked them to pick him up. This is where the story gets strange. Brandon told his parents his car went off the road near a town called Lynne, and he was going to walk toward that town, where his parents would pick him up. However, as his parents approached Lynne, they saw no sign of their son or of his car. The car was later found near a different town called Taunton, not even close to where Brandon said it would be. Brandon routinely traveled that particular route, so it's unlikely that he would have been wrong about where he was. Brandon was on the phone with his father for about 45 minutes as his parents were trying to locate him, when he suddenly said, "Oh shit," and then the line went cold. Authorities postulated that Brandon fell into a nearby river, but when his parents called him back, his phone kept on ringing, which would not have been possible if it had fallen in the water. All those calls went unanswered, and Brandon has never been seen since. 5. The disappearance of Zebb Quinn. Zebb Quinn, 18, and his colleague Robert Owens, then 21, were driving to view a car Quinn wanted to buy in January 2000. The pair drove in separate cars, but midway through the journey Quinn pulled over and told Owens he needed to turn back. Quinn never made it home. Owens, meanwhile, went to hospital later that day with broken ribs and a head injury, claiming he'd been in a car accident. 2 weeks later, Quinn's car turned up in a parking lot with a giant pair of lips drawn in lipstick on the back window, and a puppy inside. Police found no trace of Quinn. 12 years later, Owens was arrested and charged for the murder of pregnant Food Network star Christy Shane Codd and her husband. Despite this disturbing development, the disappearance of Zebb Quinn remains unsolved. 4. Diane Augat. According to the St. Petersburg Times, Diane Augat disappeared in April 1998 in Pasco County, and was reported missing by her mother on Good Friday of that year. In the years before her disappearance, Augat had struggled with mental illness and addiction, and according to her mother, was very trusting and liked men with money. It's hard to say whether her issues or personal associations had something to do with her disappearance, but the things we do know are pretty disturbing. A few days after Augat went missing, she left a message on her mother's answering machine in which she can be heard saying, "Help, help," followed by the sounds of a scuffle and someone saying, "Hey, gimme that," before hanging up. The caller ID simply said Starlight, and when Augat's mother called the number back, there was no answer. Wait, it gets worse. 2 days after the phone call, the tip of Augat's middle finger was found on the side of the same highway she had last been seen walking down 5 days earlier. And then, a week after that, a bag of Augat's clothes were found neatly folded inside a bag that had been placed in the totally normal location of a convenience store freezer. And according to the Charlie Project, the day after the Times reported all that stuff in 2000, another bag was found in another convenience store, this one a Ziploc bag full of makeup labeled Diane. 3. The girls who went up in smoke. Lauria Bible was having a sleepover at her friend Ashley Freeman's home in December 1999. That night a fire started, and when the emergency services arrived they found the body of Ashley's mom Kathy in the smoldering ruins. The girls were missing, and at first police thought Ashley's father Danny had killed his wife and kidnapped Ashley and Lauria. But then Danny's body was found in the house as well. Both parents had been shot in the head before their bodies were burnt. Lauria's car was found nearby with the keys in the ignition, leading some to suggest Ashley shot her parents and was planning a getaway. However, Lauria's purse was found with around $150 inside, and no one can explain why the girls would leave without the money. Despite several criminals being questioned over the deaths and disappearances, the case is still cold. 2. Korrina Lynne Sagers Malinoski. On November 21, 1987, Korrina Lynne Sagers Malinoski never showed up for work in Mount Holly, South Carolina, although authorities found her car parked in front of the Mount Holly plantation. Even stranger, her 8-year-old daughter Annette also disappeared from a bus stop in the same spot. Almost a year later, a note appeared at the stop which said, "Dad, Mama came back. Give the boys a hug." Handwriting experts determined that Annette wrote it, possibly under duress. Malinoski left 2 sons behind, and while experts speculated she may have returned to take her daughter with her, no one ever heard from them again. 1. The girl who vanished from her bed. On February 14, 2000, 9-year-old Asha Degree packed her book bag in the middle of the night and walked out of her house. Her brother, who slept in the same room, said he heard noises coming from her bed, and at 6:30 a.m. her mother discovered she was missing. Police believe she left the house of her own accord, but Asha was a shy, well-behaved girl and her disappearance was out of character. Several motorists spotted Asha wandering down the highway in the early hours of the morning in driving wind and rain. As one person slowed down to see if she was okay, Asha ran into the woods. An immediate search found sweet wrappers and her hair clip in a shed nearby. Over a year later her book bag was discovered wrapped in bin bags at a construction site, but Asha was never seen again.